And we are back. Guys, it has been a long time coming. We got rid of the studio, moved everything back here, and I've said for a while now that one of the things that I wanted to do was start recording again in-house and doing interviews. And today I'm excited to announce that my friend Michael is joining me here. I don't even know where you are. Last time I talked to you, bro, you were in Mexico somewhere.
Yeah, was in Mexico, but right now I'm in LA.
So, okay.
Yeah. Chilling in Venice Beach between LA, Austin, and Mexico. That's kind of my circuit right now.
Yeah. How's the weather difference from Mexico to where you're at?
Everywhere is hot, actually.
It's fair. I'm in Florida. I feel the same way. So
yeah, we've all got nice layers of sweat forming
all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
So will you tell the people who you are and what it is that you do? So I'm really excited to get in this conversation. We have so much to talk about tonight.
Yeah, 100%. So my background is in healthcare. I traditionally thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I started to realize that lifestyle is the major determinant of our overall health, because we're in a space where people are living longer and longer, and our health span, the number of healthy years we have, is going down. So started really getting into nutrition and focusing on what we can consume in order to improve our health, and that segued into creating products. So right now I am working on a company called The Mindful Market, and we create Kana products, and we're going to have other health and wellness products out there. And yeah, it's really fun. We do chocolates, gummies, and we're going to launch some capsules as well too.
Okay, so you just said that we live longer, but the quality of life is decreased?
Yes.
Dude, what a fucking profound statement. I was not prepared to hear that.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, though.
It's two different things. There's longevity, and that's like the number of healthy years, it's the number of years that we live. And then there's health span on the other side. And health span is the number of healthy years. So we've actually been increasing our longevity, but our health span has been going down. And recently, in the last year or so, our longevity has started dropping as well too. And we're past the point of like infectious disease, if that makes sense. Like, we're not dropping dead from viruses. Like, we have a lot of healthcare solutions for those. Our major problem is in chronic illness, which is caused primarily through our lifestyle. So there's so much that we can do in order to improve our health. And that's kind of like my life mission, is to help improve the quality of life of the collective, both health span and longevity.
How hard is it food-wise bouncing back from Mexico to California to Austin? Like, because when we were in Costa Rica, everything was organic. Like, everything was grown locally there. And everybody that went to Costa Rica with us, the 20-something people, every one of us got sick when we got back and started eating the food again.
Dude, it's so funny that you said that, because I was in Mexico for a month. When I came back, I immediately got food poisoning.
Right?
It was crazy. Yeah, the food there is very, very clean. And it's cool because, like, you drive around and you see farms that are like where you're sourcing your food from, where I feel like in America, we're very removed from our food sources. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for us and a lot of opportunity to really get connected back with our food sources.
Right, I agree with that. So do you want to show the market that you got going? I would love for people to see your website.
Dude,
talk
100%.
About what Kana is and the benefits of that, because that's supposed to help with social anxiety, right?
Yeah. So Kana is an herbal and pathogen. It's traditionally from, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's traditionally from South Africa, and we actually source it from South Africa as well too. And tribes would go on long excursions, hunting or just traveling, and they would eat this root, it's kind of like a flower, in order to curb their appetite and then also give them energy. And so it's really cool because it's an empathogen, it not only does this energizing effect, but it also helps us feel connected to those around us. So like you said, it helps curb that social anxiety. And what we did is we put a blend in it. And so we added guarana, which is a natural stimulant. It's got small amounts of caffeine, and it creates a synergistic effect with the Kana and really just enhances it. And then we also have Rhodelia rosea in it as well too, to make sure that the nervous system doesn't have any crazy peaks. Like it kind of mellows it out so that there's no like jitters or intense spikes in energy coming through. So yeah, this is our website we have here, and we got the Kana chocolates, the starter pack, the Kana fruit chews, little information about Kana, the Kana effect, and then a bunch of reviews.
Very cool.
Yeah, our goal here is is actually to create a movement around lifestyle as medicine. And this product is kind of our flagship product that we're going to launch to help people create and live a more mindful life that's aligned with their health as well as sustainability of the environment. So
I love that.
Yeah, I'm beyond stoked. So grateful.
Okay, so I actually just talked to my website guy today. We are doing a Friends of To Be Better part of our website where we are going to be linking everyone that we do any type of business with. And I would love to be able to feature that on our website, but if we could get a code for that for our listeners, that would be great. I don't want any kickback or anything, just something that they could get some sort of a discount would be phenomenal.
To Be Better discounts all day, every day.
Love that. Yeah. So being that that you touched on the plant medicine a little bit, people who listen to the podcast regularly know that I am a huge proponent for psychedelics and plant medicine as a whole, not just psychedelics, but you have a really interesting story with a very crazy fucking background and then psychedelics and some healing and things of that nature. Is that why you're doing what you're doing with your website?
So I would say it plays a role, if that makes sense. I feel like life is a journey, and my experiences in the past have led me to be where I am today. And this is my calling and what's being laid out before me in order to continue pushing forward with. So I would say it's definitely a part of my path, yes. And it has to do with my experience. And yeah, I mean, we touched on it before, but I had a very traumatic experience in the past that psychedelics helped me with. And
we have to get into that. We can't just skip over it. Like people are like, oh, I wonder what it is. You have to tell them. When you told me this story, I was floored. We hung up the phone and I went and told my wife everything. I was like, can't believe this went through all this. It is pretty intense, dude. Like you have a story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely very intense. I'll get some context on it. So I grew up in South Florida, and I went to the University of Florida for college. And during my either junior or senior year, I lived 4 blocks behind campus. Like, I'd take my longboard there every single day. And me and my buddies were downhill longboarders. And one day we got trailed on the way home. And we lived in a bunch of single unit apartments. And I went over to my buddy's house while my friends were getting ready. We were going to go out to get some food. And I left my skateboard outside. So we're just hanging out in the apartment, and I think we were actually like smoking before. We were pretty big into cannabis at the time. And I just had this wild thing. I was like, guys, there's someone with really bad energy out in the parking lot right now. Like, can someone go grab my skateboard? Because it just doesn't feel safe. Which first time I've ever said anything like that, right?
How'd your friends take that? Did they think you were crazy?
No, didn't really think I was crazy. They were just really chill, down to earth guys. So they were like, of course, like, I don't really make random requests like this often. And I had my arm was in a sling at the time, so my friends got up to help me for sure. And he opens the door, and there's 3 people standing right at the door. And as soon as he opens the door, they rush in. And I started getting a little alarmed. Like I'm kind of overwhelmed because there's people running in the door. And what I thought it was like our friends were like charging in to like kind of surprise us or something. And so let me kind of paint a picture here. The door is here. There's a couch here. And I'm sitting on the couch over here. And so now there's 3 new people running in, and my friend is getting pushed backwards. And so I get up from the couch and kind of like walk around, and I see someone kind of like running at me, And then I just get clocked on the side of my head. And what ended up happening was they were rushing the door to kind of like take control of the entire apartment. And when they hit me, they knocked my glasses off. I typically wear glasses and I have a really strong prescription. And then I'm like trying to piece together what's going on. I'm like, I just got hit in the face. There's someone here. And now they start yelling like, get on the couch. And I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. Like, we are now held up at gunpoint in my neighbor's single unit apartment by 3 individuals. And they like close the door and lock it. And I was like, okay, I'm buckling up here. This is like gonna be a whole experience, right? And they're like, where are the drugs? Where are the money? And I'm like, this is crazy. I was just in class like 3 hours ago. And I start freaking out. Like, I start considering everything I've done in my life. I'm being held up at gunpoint. I had a girl that I was dating at the time in one of the units down the road. And I said, hey, can you let me just shoot her a text so that she doesn't walk in on this? They said no. About 15 minutes later, she knocks on the door and they put me in the kitchen with a knife up against my chest and had my friend open the door with a gun to his head and bring her in. And now she's in on this situation. So there's 4 victims and 3 like armed robbers. And it's just at the point that they're trying to take. And we're just very openly giving them whatever they want. They're like, we want this. I'm like, let me help you get whatever you need. Like,
right.
We're not putting up any opposition whatsoever. Eventually it gets to the point that they start going through our school stuff and they try to take my friend's laptop. And he's like, dude, if you take my laptop, my school is over. Like, my thesis project's on there. Like, I will give you anything. And they're like, okay, let's go to the ATM then. And so because they wanted to take him to the ATM, they wanted to make sure that everyone else was tied up. So they hog-tied me, which, if anyone doesn't know, you tie your arms behind your back and they duct taped me from my elbows to my wrists. And then they tied my legs together from my knees down to my ankles and then wrapped tape around my mouth.
And you were in a sling before they kicked in the door.
Yeah, I was in a sling. And immediately they made me like strip down too. They said like, take off all your clothes. I don't know if they felt threatened or something, but it was a very it was a scary experience. It was very scary.
It sounds like it. For people who have never been in a situation like that, from the moment the door opened till the moment that you got hit and guns were out and people were screaming was probably less than 30 seconds. Like, those things happen so fast because it's a surprise violence action kind of thing. And it puts people off of their game and they don't know how to respond, and it allows them to control the room. So that whole thing happened faster than it took you to explain what happened.
100%. 30 seconds is a lot. I would say the whole situation from when they went in the door to hit me in the face, 3 seconds.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so it's like, boom, snap. Now all my friends face in the couch. There's 3 of us, all of our faces in our couch, and they're like searching all of our pockets for our phone and our wallets.
Crazy.
Yeah. The explanation is like, there's a lot there,
right?
But it all happens so fast. But yeah, they end up taking one of my buddies to the ATM. Now, me and another guy are tied up in a bed, and the girl, my ex-girlfriend, is downstairs with them. And they're like, just having conversation. Things are a little bit like weird and tense. They come upstairs. They start playing with a knife on the back of my thighs. Talk about putting like very aggressive things with like a broomstick, and just like scary. Like, I'm thinking my life is over and I'm happy that like I've got to live this far.
Wow.
And when they leave, me and my buddy are trying everything we can do to get out. And we're like, we got to the point where we got the duct tape off of our mouth, but like, I don't know if you've ever duct taped your arms together. Like, that is just tough, bro. Like, that is hundreds and hundreds of pounds of force. Like, we're not getting anywhere. And so we're probably like an hour and 15 into this experience, and we're there. And the guys that left to go to the ATM come back. And when they come back, they put all the boys, the one that just came back and the two that are hogtied, into the bathroom. They take my friend's car, the car they rolled up with, and they take the girl, and they say, wait here until someone comes and gets you. If you leave early, we're going to kill her. And they just left, which was wild. So my friend who went to the ATM, they didn't tie him up, so he untied us. Immediately, we just run out of the building as fast as we can, go get a phone, call 911. We talk to 911, we start tracking all the phones. It turns out they're using one of the phones for GPS, and they dropped the girl off at a hospital right next to the highway and said, today's your lucky day. So wild situation. The whole thing was an hour and a half. I thought my life was gone. I brought someone into the situation. I felt detrimentally horrible for being the person to bring someone into that situation, but we all got away relatively unscathed. So emotionally was a wreck, but physically we were okay.
She got really lucky. She got really, really lucky, because that's normally not how things play out for a woman in a situation like that, for a woman in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that's absolutely some traumatic shit. And I would assume that there was years of therapy involved, or how did that progress? Because this is where we're getting into the important conversation. I mean, obviously that was important, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the healing process after that was quite interesting. I couldn't be in the school situation. Like, it was just too triggering to be around that area and do the things that I was doing, especially because if I felt the energy of other individuals that weren't necessarily supportive and loving, there was a little bit of that evil energy that I felt when I initially told my friends to go grab my skateboard. I would just, everything inside me would trigger. I would put my back against the wall. I'd start grabbing things to defend myself. And I felt like I was putting myself in a situation that I would almost attack somebody if they came at me. And so I removed myself from the school, and I went back to where I grew up in South Florida and started going to therapy there. And I probably did therapy for 3 or 4 months, and it was okay. Just talking about the experience was good, and to talk about it with someone was solid, but it felt very disconnected. The therapist that I was talking to, she was listening to what I was saying, but I knew and I could see that she had absolutely no idea what it's like to be in that type of situation. And so the traditional therapy of communicating one-on-one with someone wasn't really cutting it for me in that space. And so I started looking into plant medicines. And that's kind of how I, started my journey into the plant medicine space. Reading a bunch about psychedelics and the power of PT and the ability to kind of combat PTSD through micro or macro dosing just felt like it was calling me, if that makes sense.
It actually does. Sorry to interrupt you. It actually does make sense. I am also here because of microdosing. I do believe that I'm actually one of the few that believes that both of them have a role, micro and macro dosing. There are proponents out there who are for just macro, some who are just micro. I believe that both of them are critical to healing. But I started with, I did big doses as a kid for fun, but doing things with the micro dosing, it alleviated a lot of my depression because SSRIs had failed me. And I went off of all of my meds for a while and started getting really depressed. And microdosing psilocybin, it allowed me to work through the things that I was dealing with without dealing with the depressive, I shouldn't be here. Nobody fucking loves me. What's the point in all of this? And maybe you can touch on this, but the way that binds to the serotonin inhibitors in your brain doesn't mask your depression. It actually makes you happy. So it helped me a lot.
Yeah. That's so cool. I'm actually interested. when you were like microdosing or macrodosing psilocybin, what was kind of like the social stigma around it? Like how many years ago were you doing it?
Oh man. It's definitely wasn't as popular as it is now. I took LSD for the first time when I was 12. So like I have a whole history of psychedelics, but when I started microdosing was probably 7 years ago. And even trying to explain to people what I was doing at the time, everybody thought that I was taking, crazy amounts of drugs, and they, thought I was Jim Morrison trying to get through my days. And that wasn't the case. I mean, I was able to go to work at the time. I was still tattooing. So like I would go to work and tattoo all day, and like it didn't affect me at all, 'cause I wasn't taking enough to get high. I was taking enough to function. It was nice to be able to get dressed in the morning and not be angry that God didn't take me in my sleep. Yeah. But, I was doing the Fadiman protocol. So I was taking one every third day. And I was taking between 150 to 250 milligrams, depending on, how bad I felt in the morning. So, but it helped me a lot.
Awesome. Did you have any like practice that you would do along with the microdosing that maybe like set the tone for the day?
There was a lot of meditation. I started learning. Okay, this is so there was more of a stigma around me meditating and doing breath work than there was around the psychedelic use, or the plant medicine. Right. Like talking about taking mushrooms isn't a big deal, but talking about sitting in your car for 45 minutes meditating and doing breath work, your friends are like, "What the fuck, dude?" Because that's not who I was. But when you have tried everything and it hasn't worked, you're willing, like something has to give. There's got to be something that can fix me. And, doing the, taking the plant medicine and then taking 45 minutes in my car, 15, 20 minutes of that being drive time. And then the other 30 minutes of it sitting there meditating and doing box breathing. I could go in and face just about anything with a level of calm. Instead of any type of anxiety or depression or anything like that. It helped me a lot.
Dude, that practice is fundamental. I mean, that's very similar to what I ended up doing as well too. Like I established a practice, and then I also had like a microdosing protocol. Like the only psychedelic that I could find access to was LSD at the time. And I would do anywhere from like 10 to 15 micrograms once every third day. So I'd have like, an on day, I'd have the afterglow, I'd have a reset day, and then I would do it again.
Right. That was the same protocol that I had with psilocybin.
Yeah. And it was so powerful. Like you said, breath work and meditation was your thing. Like mine was a lot of like journaling, because I was trying to process a lot of what was happening, because immediately your brain is like, what did I do wrong to deserve this?
Right.
And like, why did this happen to me? And it's like me. And I'm like, after the whole experience, just realizing that it's nothing to do with me. Like it was their experience throughout their upbringing that brought them to the place that led them to my front door. And their greatest chance of success was the event that ended up happening.
Right.
And so that was such an interesting reframe that I was able to kind of capture after the event. And once I understood that, life became a lot easier.
Yeah, I believe that.
I would say
I'm really big into journaling too. I don't want to move too far away from this. Real quick, I've always said on the podcast that life doesn't happen to you. Life just happens. And what you assign to the situations will dictate your existence and the outcome of your life and how you feel about things. So in your situation where you went from being the victim to understanding that this is just one of those things that happened in the universe and you happened to be there when it happened, there is a freeing aspect of that. It makes you no longer a victim. I mean, really, there's no other way to word that. That's fucking huge. Did you get that while you were microdosing and journaling, or did that come afterwards?
Microdosing and journaling really highlighted that fact for me.
Okay.
I think the whole concept of, psychedelics as a whole, it just opens up your perspectives. Like, I feel like sometimes if you're like so locked in, especially after a traumatic event, that you're like, this was my perspective on the situation and this is what happened. And what the microdosing did is it allowed me to take the blinders off and just see things from like an outside perspective. So yeah, I mean, I could not agree with you more. It's very, things are happening all the time, and everyone just needs to take a step back and realize it's all happening for us.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to word it. Do you, and for you, because you got a whole lot after this, right? That experience was a catalyst for you that changed pretty much the course of your life when you really think about what you're doing now. It moved you away from the school, moved you back home, and then it got you doing what you're currently doing. When you journal, I've journaled my entire life. I was homeless a few times as a kid, and then again as an adult. And my journaling was a way for me to process what I was going through. It was very, very raw. And I do coaching for men, and one of the things that I implement with all of these guys is they have to journal, and they always go, "I don't know how to journal." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know how to journal, bro? This isn't like some Dear Diary shit. You just write what you're feeling and go." And so like I've created journal prompts, and I have a PDF that I send out to all my guys about journaling and the effects of it. But like when I journal, it's always the raw, ugly that I can't process, getting that energy out onto paper, and then once that's out of my body, I can read it and start to formulate, and then I'll rewrite again, and then I'll do it again until I get to a cohesive thing. And my emotional scribble will be a whole page. And by the time I'm done, it'll just be a paragraph. But that paragraph is very analytical, dissected about what's going on with me and how can I improve it. And that is the best way that I have found to work through my own shit. And I recommend that for everybody in terms of integration as well, because you're going to get downloads and you're going to have a whole lot of things happening to you that you're not prepared for. Like that journal can literally be a life source for you in times of need. Do you have 100%. Prompts for yourself? How does your journaling go?
Mine, I want to just note on yours, that is brilliant. I've never heard that before. Like refining the emotional flood that comes out when you initially like stream your consciousness and then work through it in order to like create a concise understanding of what you're experiencing. That's such a smart way to process things. I am going to try that 100%.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Really cool. Really, really cool. So my journaling is, when you said raw, like that resonates with me. It's very much like a stream of how I'm feeling and what's going on. Recently, I've also been including a lot of like mantra work because, our consciousness is around 20-ish% of our thoughts, more or less. It's a minority of our thoughts. Our subconscious is so much greater. And so what I try to do with my journaling is almost reprogram my subconscious. And at first you can come across things like imposter syndrome where it doesn't necessarily feel like this is you and these are your thoughts. But eventually it gets to the point that it really starts to change. Like your conscious thoughts start to change. And for me, at least getting out of that hole of like emotional depression on like, wow, my life is, I'm a victim, to moving forward in the world and taking advantage of all the opportunities that are coming. Like I almost needed to put myself into that imposter spot. Like everything is happening for me. I just don't know why yet. And I'm very grateful for this experience. Would be something that I would like write over and over and over again. And I'm like, I just can't see it now. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in the middle of a transition, a big transition in life, and the end of the last chapter was a little bit of a tear, and you're like, oh, it needed to happen, but it hurts so bad. And so it helps me get through those type of experiences.
How hard was it for you because you basically were giving gratitude, blind gratitude. You can even call that faith if you really want to. How hard was it for you after going through something like that to start implementing that? And like you said, it's imposter syndrome, but do you think this is a fake it till you make it thing? Because giving gratitude is something we talk about on the podcast all the time. You can't have misery and depression if you're grateful. It just doesn't work. Like those are two emotions that don't coincide. So if you're giving gratitude all the time, and then you can even talk about the people in the 60s and 70s that did guru work, that went overseas and came back and meditated. And they really were just putting positivity into themselves and putting it outwards into the world. And they were able to change their lives because of it. But that gratitude it is life changing. How hard was that for you to actually start believing that?
I just had like a lump on my throat. Like it was not easy to start. 100% not easy. And there was a lot of situations that kind of triggered me, if that made sense, where I'm like, wow, I feel just reactive, and there's like rage coming up for these individuals that caused me and my friends so much harm. But after like consistent just practice and sitting with my thoughts and sitting with my emotions, finding the high point always led me back to gratitude. I was like, it just feels right. And yeah, I mean, the microdosing definitely helps with that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I would say even macrodosing, after like a really big macrodose, it might have been the most challenging thing during the moment. But afterwards, I'm like, I am just so grateful to be here. And that altered consciousness for a period of time really, really, really helps instill gratitude.
Yeah, I actually want to touch on the macro dose, but I want to, before we move forward, I have this belief that there's no such thing as a bad journey, that it doesn't matter how ugly it is or how dark it is or whatever it is that you go through in the moment. If if you accept what's happening and you are looking for the lessons in it, it's not a bad trip, as everybody calls it. It's just, there's something there that needs to be released, whether you've got ugly in you that needs to come out, or there's a lesson that needs to be learned. In some cases, people purge. I think that when you're in the medicine and you purge like that, that purge is a physical release of all the stress and the ugly that you've got in you. With your first macro dose after that experience, what was that like for you?
Scary and dark.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. It was a lot, it felt very heavy. And in the moment, there's just such a inner conflicting dialogue that happens. But it processes things so well. I kind of think of it almost as like a catalyst, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It gets you to it gets you to your higher self significantly faster, because it allows you to process so many like emotions, feelings, and thoughts in a small amount of time. And so like negativity and like bad thoughts are kind of just shedding away from you in order for you to get to this higher spot. So I completely agree with you, right? Like there's not a bad trip. I think there was a whole stigma around like having a bad trip. There's no such thing as a bad trip. I think there's ways that we can like shed away our ego to become the person that we want to be. And these experiences really help facilitate that.
Yeah, I agree. The after process of those big experience, we always tell people when I'm talking to my friends and shit that it's a cheat code. We've done a couple ayahuasca ceremonies recently over the last 7 months. We've done 3 of them, and we're going again in October. The first one that I went through, the medicine put me in a revision of a whole lot of things. And one of the things that I went through was I've had multiple suicide attempts. And one of those times I put a gun in my mouth that was freshly cleaned, and I tasted gun oil in my mouth for over an hour while I was in the ayahuasca ceremony. But I was so fucking grateful for the experience that I was sobbing and crying. And I looked at my wife at one point and I was like, I'm trying not to cry here. I was like, I'm so fucking grateful that I didn't kill myself. And she started crying, and we cried together, and we had a little moment. But there was a whole lot of healing that went through that. And like I cried that entire ceremony from like probably the first 45 minutes. Once the medicine hit me, I cried all night until I came out of the medicine. And I have not felt heavy or burdened since that night. And I can cry again. I can function like a normal person. What? I can watch a TV show that has a sad moment, and I'll cry about it, and we'll look at each other and we'll both be crying, and there's no shame or judgment. And the second ayahuasca journey, there was a smaller version of that, but I haven't had an experience since then. And those 2 ceremonies healed a whole lot of shit in me. But the integration that follows after those big journeys was journaling. We've done live integration calls with the church that does the ceremonies, and then with another website that holds free integration when I needed it. And then other friends who have been in the medicine that I've been able to talk to. But like, it's crazy how a 4 or 5 hour experience can get all of that out to the point where you can start processing and actually dealing with the shit. Because otherwise, if I wouldn't have integrated and journaled and talked, I would have bottled all that back up. Like it wouldn't have healed me. You know what I mean? That's the medicine aspect of it. And the healing comes afterwards. It's just crazy to think about, because there's so many people out there that will never understand this because of the stigma that falls around the bad trips and, all the bullshit that fed you in the DARE program and all that when you were kids, but it's just crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a powerful story. Wild that you could taste the gun oil. Like my emotional regulation just went crazy when you said that.
Yeah. They told me after the fact that had I raised my hand in ceremony to let them know what I was going through, they could have given me something to make that go away. Because apparently this is a thing. Like people who have had experiences like this, they may have sensations that they can't let go of. You can get stuck in loops, which, you know, that can happen on any psychedelic. But the main facilitator, when I went back, I told her what happened. She was like, all you had to do was raise your hand and we could have got that to go away. And I was like, no, I needed that. Like I suffered that hour, like, but it was a necessary thing. I'm smiling over here. Like that was a great experience. It sucked in the moment, but it was one of the most freeing things as well. So I guess it was a good experience. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm smiling because I'm happy for you. That fact that you overcame that, you know, that's a challenging, such a challenging thing. And I think this is very like, fundamental to these experiences. It's so challenging to go through, but you had something that was blocking you that you couldn't release. And this allowed you to move through it. And now you feel lighter. Like that is so huge, bro. Like you're shedding away aspects of who you are that, you know, don't align with where you want to be in the future.
That's a good way to put that.
They're not holding you back anymore. So I think it's appropriate to smile because it's like you're the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm becoming the best version of myself. Actually, I think I'm currently the best version of myself, but that doesn't mean that I'm where I want to be. Right. Like I'm 44 years old. I believe I still have another half of my life. You know, hopefully it's quality of life and not just longevity as we talked about earlier. But I definitely think that I've got a long way to go and I'm not healed as far as I want to be, but I am definitely the current best version of me. And it's a beautiful thing to think about or to even vocalize. Like that's huge. So
huge. It's the path of becoming better and recognizing that, you know, all of the snowball effect of all the decisions you've been making is creating this best version of yourself. And, you know, the path going forward is what's going to allow you to always be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. This is also allowing, because my wife is also in a healing journey of her own, excuse me. And because of all of this, like people who've been listening to the podcast for the last 3 years, they have stated over and over again that there is a very big difference between her and I over the last 7 months. And the compassion and the empathy that we have now that, I mean, we had it before, but it's in abundance now. And the way that we are conducting ourselves, people are saying that it's actually helping their healing journey. So there is a trickle down effect from us going through what we're going through. And it, you know, it's benefiting our kids. Our kids are going to have a much better life because of it, which means our grandkids, and like that is going to heal generation instead of generational trauma. It'll be the reverse. So there's a lot that comes from this shit.
100%. And I mean, I just, that resonated with me so hard. The fact that like people are recognizing how your relationship dynamic is changing. Like the people who are going to recognize it most are your kids.
Right.
Like they are going to be the direct, like they see you more than anybody else. Right. And like that is going to impact your entire like generational line because they'll bring aspects of the best version of you guys that they're seeing. Like the fact that you're always improving should have an awesome impact on them. And hopefully they are always improving. Right.
Yep.
And it just, we continue on this like upward spiral together. That's very powerful. I'm excited for you and your family.
Thank you. So being that we've had the experiences that we've had and you went from going to therapy and doing all of that, did you have like a social circle where this was just an easily accessible thing? How did you go about finding medicine like that? Like, that's not something that you could just go up to somebody on the street and be like, hey, you got some Lucy? Like, you got some mushrooms, friend? Like, how did that work out for you?
It was super interesting because, you know, you go online, you Google, you're like, how can I help get out of this depressive state or this PTSD state? And then you read all these things and there's like psychedelics on the wall. And then you're like, okay, let me go to the grocery store and just pick up some psychedelics. Like I'd love some high quality, like Whole Foods quality mushrooms here. But the thing is, there's nobody who like openly sells these things. And this was, for context, like 11 years ago. So socially, it was not anywhere near where it was today or where it is today. I just started asking basically people one by one if they knew anybody who was in the psychedelic space, if they knew anyone who grows mushrooms, they knew anyone who had LSD. And eventually I found someone who had LSD. and didn't get a real name from the person. And it was kind of like I met up with someone on the corner of the street and they gave me like a tinfoil strip of 10 tabs, which is,
Right.
and I was like, how much is in these? And they're like, it's about a hit, like 100 micrograms. And I was like, about? And he's like, I didn't lay it. And I was like, okay.
Were you familiar with that terminology at all?
I'd heard about it, but I definitely had to look it up.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
How did your friends feel when you were asking them about all this shit? Were your friends like, what do you want that for? Or like, were they just cool with it? Like, how did that play out?
Yeah, it was a little bit like, no, dude, I don't have that. And like, why would you need that type of vibe?
Okay.
You know, and then you go into the situation where you're like explaining what happened and like what you want to try. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I have no idea. But I hope you find it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, it was a situation that I would never invite my family member to go to the corner and pick up what you think is a substance that you are going to take. And the person giving it to you really doesn't really know what it is either. It wasn't a great experience.
Sounds
100%.
super safe.
Yeah, super safe. But you know, that started my journey. And then over the course of years, like, you know, 10 years, it's been creating more relationships with people who are closer and closer in the space. And so, you know, I'm actually a part of a plant medicine church that we have growers, people who grow mushrooms. We have people who synthesize like different synthetic compounds. Like there's a network of churches around the United States right now that help facilitate and manufacture plant medicine for people. And, you know, I feel really honored to be a part of that community because there's a level of safety, transparency, and just knowing that the product that I'm getting, what it has and what's in it, so that I can have like a consistent, predictable experience over and over again. And that actually really helps with the healing process too. You know, imagine going to a bar and, you know, you have like you order a beer, but they hand you like 15 shots and you drink that. Like you would never drink again because you would be so floored from that one experience that it would just kind of traumatize you. And it's the same thing when it comes to psychedelics because they're such small compounds that have such a massive effect on your body that, you know, safety and sourcing, you know, from the church is awesome.
Yeah. That's one of those things that may not resonate with you, but for me, how these things are made matters to me. When it's synthesized, it's a chemical process. It's not the same as growing. So like if you're doing ibogaine or peyote, ayahuasca, psilocybin, and you're actually taking the things that are grown, the process of how it's done matters to me. So like knowing that something is actually being grown, and in this case by church that's viewing it as a sacred sacrament, I don't think there's going to be anything negative attached to the medicine itself. And that is actually a concern for me. I did angel trumpets way back in the day. Like, and I know that can kill you. I've had really big doses. The most I've taken in one shot was 8 or 9 grams of mushrooms in one go. Like I have had big heroic experiences. And I would only imagine that, I don't know. This is probably just a me thing, but I would believe that if there was any type of like, if you were growing those things in your home and, you know, cause that's where people are growing out of tubs and shit, if they're doing it illegally, and there's screaming and yelling and there's child abuse or there's physical violence in the home. I believe that all of that energy is still within the house and it attaches itself to everything in the home. I believe it attaches it to our clothes. Like that's why you shouldn't leave dirty clothes laying on the floor and all that shit. That is really a thing for me. I think about that shit a lot. So knowing that you have that type of community is a really big deal. I think that's great.
Yeah, 100%. The way that everything is like manufactured and grown plays such a huge role. And on top of that too, like the way that the plant medicine is delivered and like the ingredients that come in the packaging that comes with that is also so important as well too. Both of those things I really, really like to put emphasis on as well too, right? Because like you want to make sure that your mushrooms are grown in like a safe, loving environment. for example, and then at the same time, if you were to put it in a chocolate, say, like, where was that chocolate coming from, right? Like, what's the energetics behind that other material that's going in to create this complete experience? I immediately, once you started talking about like the energetics behind the plant medicine grown, I thought about like that water test, the where you like talk to the water, you tell it that you love it, and it has like a different compound, like molecular composition than other ones that you spit negativity towards.
Yeah, when it freezes. Do you know that they did that same test with rice, and the rice that had the negativity turned black?
Whoa.
Yep. Yeah, you can look into that. I also think that it's important when you mentioned packaging. We are seeing I'm not going to call it a resurgence because I don't believe that's the case. Psychedelics have been here, plant medicines have been here for tens of thousands of years. So it's not really a resurgence. It's just becoming more accepted. But with that comes a whole lot more danger. Have you seen, there's a whole lot of chocolate bars being sold now that has Amanita muscaria in it. And that's a delirium. People will smoke it and get an effect from it. But when you take it as like an edible and you swallow it, it does give you some sort of euphoria. But Amanita muscaria is actually toxic and poison if in high doses. Like you can get very sick from that. So like you said, the labels and the way that the things are in there matters. So I think that's definitely, I need to put that out there because people are going to hear this podcast and go to their local head shop and see shroom bar, and they're going to buy it thinking that they're actually getting some sort of cubensis, and that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, that's a really big problem that I see all over the place. Like, I'm not calling out all smoke shops, but the stuff that I traditionally see at smoke shops isn't necessarily what it's marketed to be.
Right.
Like a lot of it's like synthetic compounds, and I'll ask the people running the store, like, hey, do you know where this is made, or like what compound is actually in this? And they just have no idea.
Nope.
And so like, I completely agree with you. Just making sure that you have some general understanding of like where your products are made, how they're made, is there intention being put into them, and like just trusting the source is so important.
Yeah. I want to get back to the talk about the church. What else can you tell us about that? That seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So the church that I'm a part of is called the Conscious Collective.
What a cool name. What a cool name. Right? Because, okay, look, so for anybody that's ever done a big experience and you've done it in a group setting, like if you've been to an Aya ceremony or there's psilocybin retreats now all over the U.S. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
okay.
I have seen it.
But when you do those in that kind of like collective, you become one conscious. Like you guys are, I don't even know how to explain that one.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain that.
It's very interesting. Like journeying next to somebody. I was actually in a plant medicine ceremony, maybe like, a month or two ago. And the guy that I was next to, him and I we had almost this interesting energetic blend. Like we were seeing each other through energetics while sitting next to each other. It's almost as if our like higher beings were communicating with each other.
Yeah.
He looked like, in my eyes, he looked like a pillar of light. And I was like, whoa, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
I cannot.
Okay. All right, cool. Give me 1 second. Let me close this door.
Sure.
There's a fire department next to the building that I'm in, and I think they just turned on some huge equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't hear it at all. All I can hear is you and a little bit of rain coming from underneath my headphones. So,
oh, nice.
Did you talk to that guy after that experience?
Yes.
What was his version of that? Did he have something similar?
Yes, 100%. Very cool. Isn't that so interesting?
That's the collective, dude.
Yeah, bro. It's so cool. Have you had a collective experience recently?
I have. So, God, you're going to think I'm absolutely nuts. Actually, you're probably not because of your experiences. Every time my wife and I talk about this with people who have never done any of this, they're like, whatever, you're crazy. You were on drugs. We have shared a consciousness. And we've had telepathic conversations that have been confirmed after we're out of the medicine. And like there was in one specific time, the first time it ever happened, I was on 8 grams and she was on 5. And I was touching her skin and I was like, every time I touch your skin, I get a sensory of ripples in my brain. and they're color ripples. And I hit it and she was like blue. And I'm like, no way. And I did it. And she's like green. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And I tap, tap, tap. And she's like red, orange, blue, or whatever the colors were. And I was completely flabbergasted. And we laid there in silence for probably 3 hours at that point, and we were totally enmeshed with each other. And then after we came out of the medicine the next day, we talked about everything that happened. And I was like, I need to know if I'm crazy here. And she's like, okay. And I started talking and she's like, I'm so glad you brought this up because I thought I was going nuts. And it's happened with us multiple times. And in the last ayahuasca ceremony, I could feel her no matter where she was on the farm, because we were on a 25-acre ranch.
Yeah.
And we were next to each other side by side. And at one point she got up to go to the bathroom and to do something. And like the guardians were helping her move around, but I was laying on the mat with my eyes closed and I could feel her no matter where she was. And every time I opened my eyes to check, she was right where I thought she would be. So that situation with you, like hearing that you had that light of him and you were able to see him as a pillar, I'm very curious to see how he felt or what he saw in that process.
Yeah, for sure. He said that I almost felt like a guru to him. Especially like when I positioned myself and I was like against a pole. He's like, you were a pillar of light. And he's like, you were guiding the experience for me. And I was like, dude, you were doing that for me too. I was like, this is crazy. It's funny that you say that you felt connected on like a deeper level too, because I've actually had that experience, and I don't think I've ever really talked about it with anyone. But I've had, different chapters of my life where I had a significant other, and she wasn't even anywhere near me whatsoever. But like I was able to just drop into like where she was, what she was doing, the people around, like everything. Like it was almost as if I was like sitting above her consciousness and like viewing everything. And I'd have a conversation afterwards, and everything that I saw was real. Crazy.
Isn't it?
So crazy.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is some of it was like on medicine, and then some of it was after, like in the integration phase.
Yeah.
Where it was like a meditation state. And you spoke to meditation earlier. I think meditation is such an important part of integration.
Absolutely.
Just allowing your thoughts to kind of unravel. This meditation phase brought me to that place. And I was like, whoa, this is exactly what I needed to see right now. So yeah, the conscious collective is the church.
Yeah, that's a great name.
Very cool. Yeah.
Great name. Sorry.
For sure.
So tell me more about that now that we've side railed.
Yeah. So it's just a grouping of individuals that believe that plant medicine have a place in our society. Like we believe there's huge value to going through these types of experiences, gaining new perspectives, and like exploring our conscious, like, beings, let's say. And there's a Religious Restoration Act of 1993 that, the Conscious Collective and other churches around are kind of like anchored on. And through this act, there was an individual, I believe he was practicing peyote. He was charged with, illicit substances, but he was let go because it was considered like his faith. His faith was, going on these spiritual experiences, and he would grow from them. So it's like, who is anyone to tell you what your faith is, right? Like that's the whole point of faith. It's abstract, it's different, and it's really cool. But with the church, like our main pillars are all around practicing plant medicine safely. So finding different ways to heal is kind of like one aspect, and then on the other side, there's also like the creative expansion, right? Where you can go and like troubleshoot different problems and kind of like go I love moving. Have you like done any type of like movement patterns on plant medicine?
For some reason, all I'm thinking of is Tai Chi, and no. Although I would imagine that would be pretty fucking dope because Tai Chi is the movement of energy. It's funny that you said that I've not tried any patterns, but I other than ayahuasca, I move a lot. Like I have a very hard time sitting still when I'm in the medicine. It puts him on my face. Like it's like trying to stand up with concrete on my back. So I don't move around very much in that, but everything else that I've done, it's very hard to get me to sit down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I noticed movement is a very integral part of my experience as well too.
can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So like if I, especially on psilocybin, like I'll start almost doing yoga and like it feels like I'm transmuting energy, if that makes sense. And then
Okay.
if I take it to go like surfing or skiing, like I'll notice that my body awareness, positioning, and balance is heightened through the roof. Like I'm absolutely level 10. Or like, slacklining, I'll go from like taking 3 steps, and then as soon as I start to feel the medicine kick in, I'll like walk the line back and forth.
It's funny that you said slacklining. I just bought one of those boards. You know what I'm talking
the
about?
balance board?
Yeah, the Gibbon boards. It's got the slack line on the top of it, so I can practice it in my living room. It just got here like 2 days ago.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. You'll have to try it while on some medicine. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you'll get a random text one day. Bro, I just did a Buddha pose on this thing.
Yeah. So cool. So yeah, I mean, there's that aspect of like movement, creative expansion, like work stuff that you can kind of like go in, see with a new, different perspective. And then obviously, as you said, like the integration process, right? Like how are you supported through that process, and like what can you do in order to make sure that everything that you experience can then come into your life and kind of serve you. And then there's also like learning more about the ancient wisdom of plant medicines. I got connected with the Noki Khoi tribe in Brazil. They are an awesome tribe. Their medicines are like Sananga, Kambo, ayahuasca, and Hape, and just learning about them.
What is Sananga? I know the other three. She's done a combo ceremony. We've both done Hape and Aya. She actually has a whole bunch of Hape here. She still does that on a regular basis. But Sananga, what is that?
Sananga is a root, and traditionally it was used by hunters to help like make their eyesight more acute.
Okay.
And so they drop the like.
Okay, I know what it is. It's the eye drops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know where we're at now. That was just a new one for me. I couldn't remember that. Like they didn't equate the two. That's something that I'm actually seeing people posting ads for on Facebook.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It is pretty wild. The plant medicine space is up and coming for sure.
It's very vast. Like it's like we're, I believe that the universe has cycles to it. Like everything, it breathes. We get further away, and then we get too far away, and we have to come back to a center line, and it happens again. And like that, I believe, is a normal function of our universe. And I think that we went so far away from plant medicines and started creating new medicines and creating names for what plant medicines was. And like, this is now holistic, natural medicine instead of, here, take these fucking drugs. And I think that we're now coming back to realizing that there's so much more that is here. The earth has everything that we need. I truly believe that. I don't believe that we have to synthesize anything or make any type of compounds. It's all here. We just have to relearn it to be able to access it again. So being able to go to places like Brazil and have like, these kind of conversations, there's so many psychoactive plants on the planet that like, I don't even think we know them all at this point, Yeah. It's crazy 100%. To think about.
And what's cool is like, I actually really resonated with Hape because I just tried it for the first time when I was in Brazil. Like it's non-psychoactive for anyone who doesn't necessarily know what it is. It's like a tobacco mixed with a plant. Mm-hmm. And it is the most grounding thing I've ever tried in my entire life. Like
burns like a motherfucker though.
What'd you say?
Burns like a motherfucker though. That first time I got hit with Hape, dude, it was like getting struck by lightning in the back of my head. I was not prepared for that.
Yeah. Did you get served?
Yes.
Through a tepe?
Yep. Yeah. We've since bought. We now have a tepe and a Kepri. Caripe. Yeah. That we can serve ourselves. When we went to Costa Rica, we met with a guy named Gabriel who was doing a cacao ceremony, which, that is technically, they view that as a medicine. And while we were there, he asked if we had done Hape because the ceremony itself looked a lot like an Aya ceremony. And we had a whole lot of conversations with him, and he offered to do Hape with my wife and I, even though there was a whole group of people traveling with us. We stepped off into the jungle and did some Hape with him. And his Hape came from the Shibipo.
Yep.
And he said that his tribe is known for that. And like, he gave my wife a very big dose because she's more familiar with the use of Hape than I am. and it wrecked her. So yeah, there's a lot of purging that can come with that, but the after effect is, you're right. There's a lot of clarity. There's peace. It's very cool shit.
Yeah, for sure. Taking it nice and slow. Like I'm more on the promote of starting slow. When we pulled up to the tribe, I got floored for like an hour.
Yeah, it'll do that.
So I definitely understand. That's actually something I'm going to put it up on the Mindful Market, is the Noki Koi Hape. I'll send you guys some.
Oh, I would love that, dude. I would love that.
100%.
I'd actually like to try some of the products off that site. I'm probably going to place it in an order when we're done. I want to get some of the what did you call it? Kana? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, what we were saying, there's so many cool indigenous like plant medicines that we're just coming to the point of like uncovering what it does, and just being in a community of individuals that, you know, sees the value in it and also can help you explore it. Like, whether it's the Conscious Collective or another church or group of people, like, I mean, even the To Be Better community seems like there's an awesome exploration. Like,
absolutely.
Finding your people is so huge.
Yeah. We need that. We're actually a species that needs a tribe or a community. Like, it's in our DNA. You know, when you look at the time span of human history, the last 200 years is a blip. And we needed that community to survive. If you were outcast or if your tribe left you, you were fucking dead. There was no way to survive back then, because when you were not in a pack, literally everything on the planet would kill you. Like you had no choice but to be and get ingrained in that. And like, now we live in bigger houses with less people in it, and we are moving further and further away. I tell people all the time, we're more connected and more disconnected in history than we've ever been, because it's all here, but we don't have any real connections with people anymore. So you're right in that we actually call it the Discord. We call it the To Be Better tribe for all of the people who are part of our podcast. And we have that community. We've actually built it, and it's one of the things that has actually kept the podcast going, because there's so many people that come and never leave. They become family members to us at this point. So very cool shit. How does somebody go about getting involved with the church that you're in?
Yeah. So, we have a link that I can share with you, and you can throw it in the comments. And it's a landing page to the church, and you just hit join the collective, and it'll take you to a form. And you fill out the form, and you'll get outreached by the church members.
Okay. I would like to do that.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. I'll send you over the link, and, just go through it. And what the church is trying to do is just create a safe space. Just make sure that you are who you say you are, and you want to use plant medicine for like the growth and well-being of yourself to become the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I actually really liked the tribe thing. That's kind of like, all of these steps that I see that are being taken for us in the healthcare, the longevity, the health span space, all can kind of be built around community. Like, the end goal is creating almost like a country club model where people are surrounded. The country club is kind of a golf course, but think like regenerative farm, and you have people like living off the land all together, eating food together, moving together, and kind of having like a collective purpose. Like that is the North Star that I keep seeing over.
That's my 5-year goal. Dude, I'm not kidding. We are in a process right now of paying off all of our debt. I just paid my truck off. We want to buy 50 to 100 acres by 2030 and put a giant communal pavilion in there with like a brick oven, all of that, have solar power hooked up to it, and then put tiny homes all over it, so that if people want to go and get away from the place that are part of our community, we can put digital locks on all the doors and be like, hey, if you want to go to the property, do the thing. We'll put food forest on there so that all the food is there. We have a whole ass plan for all that. We just planted 42 fruit trees on my property.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're trying to move away from all of that. We want organic everything, no process. Like, the last 7 months of our lives has changed a lot for us. So that community thing would be very cool. And if we can keep our house here and have that there, people could live there full time if they wanted to. Just maintain the property if we're not there. That's all I ask. The tiny home's what, 20 grand? Or you could buy a shed and be like, here's a shed for $8,000, build it yourself, connect it to the solar, have a great life. Like, there's real community things happening with To Be Better.
100%. And that is how you change your health, right? You live in a space that's like supportive. There's tons of positive inputs coming in. Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% on the same wavelength as you. I haven't exactly materialized what it looks like. I actually traveled from California to Georgia to a farm called Okefenokee. They bought a ton of land, and it was actually farmland before, and now they're putting, I think, 500 homes on it. And so they have an oven right in the middle of it. There's like a cabana area, and people go and they hang out and they eat food. And most of them have a home outside of the community, and they have the home in the community.
That's what we want to do
too. So yeah, I mean, that idea, that vision, like, let me know how I can support. I would love to be a part of it 100%.
Yeah, man. It's just time.
That way of living is the future. So thanks for spearheading.
Yeah. I actually think it is. I gotta be honest, man. I feel like there's a void in a lot of people because we don't have the community anymore. Like, I think that a big part of the depression, when you're 100 years ago, if you were having a bad time, you could go talk to your grandparents about it. Your grandparents have already lived through so much shit that they would actually listen, and there was compassion there because they cared about you. That's not the case anymore. Most people are so detached from their family, or it's one of those, what do you want or what can I get from you situations that, like, we don't have compassion and love and like that tribe space anymore. I really think that that's part of what's making us sick.
Dude, I literally could not agree with you more. 100%. Like, my grandma has dementia, and so now she like lives with a caregiver full time. And the reason why I'm getting so much more inspired to build a concept like this is because I don't want to have my mom or dad be with a caregiver and not be around family whatsoever. Like, it's crazy how we're isolating like different demographics,
right?
And we're not necessarily integrating them together, because I think with the integration, there's so much beauty, right? It gives the elderly purpose to take care of the young, and then that frees up the people in the middle so that they can go pursue whatever they're trying to accomplish in this lifetime.
Right.
Like, it's such a win-win. Obviously, there's a family dynamic and there's a relationship dynamic that needs to be addressed, but man, there's so many benefits of living in community.
Yeah. That relationship dynamic is a huge one. That's something that we talk about all the time. There's a difference between being related to somebody and having a relationship with somebody. And you can share DNA and walk by somebody on the middle of the street that shares your DNA and you would never know. So having that DNA structure doesn't mean shit unless there's actually a relationship built upon it. So yeah. That's a huge topic on our podcast too.
So cool. Yeah. I mean, the relationship stuff, like I'm going through a ton of relationship stuff with, people who I'm blood related to, that I'm working on forming a relationship with, and, like that, and like psychedelics and all these mental things. It's like the first step is always the hardest.
Absolutely.
And once you get past that first step, then the next step just a slightly bit easier. And then you're like, okay, I can do this. And really building momentum is just so awesome.
Do you think it gets easier, or do you think that you become more confident?
Both.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that you start to believe in yourself, and it doesn't matter how hard it is. I think that if you have enough belief in you, it could be the hardest thing on the planet. But if you believe you got this, you got this. And it's just
100%.
Yeah.
Confidence is king.
It is.
I completely agree. Do you have any like daily practice or something that helps build up your confidence to take on more challenging situations?
My wife and I do positive affirmations for each other, like you wouldn't believe.
Whoa.
And so like I told you earlier, I had a really ugly past, and I am one of those people that would negative self-talk all the time. Oh. And at the time, that's just me talking shit to myself. I didn't realize how much power our words and the vibrations of our words and the energy being expelled. I didn't get any of that. And she did. So the first time I negative self-talk, she put a stop to that shit. And anytime it's happened since then, she has either made me rephrase what I was doing or stop and, put my hands, her hands on my face and make me look at her. And we have a whole lot of support between the two of us, and we're not going to allow each other to be less than we believe each other should be. So that is our daily rituals. And I get text messages every morning from my wife that's like, I love you because, or I'm grateful for you because. I credit most of my growth to her. That's really what it comes down to, man. She won't accept anything less than my very best. And that's a blessing.
Dude, I know, I'm sure your listeners know this, but like, can I highlight how special that is? The fact that you have someone who is being the light in your life to make you the best version of yourself is so freaking cool. So cool.
Yeah. It's why we have the relationship we have.
Yeah, I am just so stoked for you.
Thank you.
I would love to ask you, like, did it always start out like this? For someone who's, for example, looking to find a relationship that, like, they want to have that positivity from the other person. Did you guys kind of like form that together? Or was it something that like immediately was when you came to be
so
in a relationship?
Our courting phase was very long. And we weren't going to be a thing. Like I wasn't interested in her like that because she had dated one of my friends in the past. And like bro code is once they've dated one of your friends, they're off the table forever. And I believe that. And I was going through a divorce and her and I were going to dinner and we were hanging out and texting and she was kind of acting as my soundboard and my therapist. But because she was neutral ground and there was no love interest there, I was able to be really honest with her, like ugly honest with her. And I owned all of my bullshit. I talked about the infidelity in my marriage and like, I talked about my suicide attempts. I talked about my mental health. Dude, I laid all of that shit at her feet. So by the time feelings started to form, there was nothing that hadn't been, I was completely exposed.
Yeah.
And she had done the same thing because she had had a very ugly, abusive previous marriage as well. And because we had those conversations, there was a lot of conversations like, if I ever got with somebody and like I decide to be in a relationship again, these are my non-negotiables. These are things that I would have to have from a partner that if I'm going to do this. And like I had owned businesses. So like I was kind of already established in life and like there was a lot of concern there for me. And like I had all those things out and she got to hear all of it. And like we actually sat down at one point and wrote down our non-negotiables for each other. And we wrote down like, this was after we started actually dating. We wrote down things that we would and would not accept, things that were like mandatory from our partners, neither one of us yelling at each other, no name calling. We wrote down whose job was going to be what when she moved in so that we had a very clear list of chores, all of that cultivated the relationship that we currently have because there was no putting our best foot forward and trying to fake who we were. Like it was just ugly as fuck from the beginning, but because there was no interest in each other romantically, there was nothing to hide. Like I didn't have anything to lose. If she thought that I was a horrible person and she dipped out, like she was just somebody that I was hanging out with at that point. And I think that that's what gave us the foundation that we have to build off of, that gave us that positive, because we did see each other at our worsts.
That is so cool. It's almost like a blanket of safety that you guys gave each other because of how vulnerable you were with each other.
Yep. Like, full transparency.
Full transparency.
Yep.
Yeah. That is super inspirational.
Yeah. It's another thing too, is to find people you're compatible with, right? Like everybody, the people who are looking for a relationship, they will take whatever they can get because they're craving it and they're looking for it. Like, is that the one? Is that the one? There's a whole lot of red flags, but I like them. You know what I mean? And they overlook a whole lot of things where when you are trying to make friends with people or you're trying to establish new connections and you are very picky and you're selective and you're not in a rush, you kind of sort people out a whole lot differently. And like your social circle tends to shift and like you become more, your life is enriched by the people around you. You don't have to worry about shady people. And like that goes a long way too. And so like the compatibility, there are things that I'm not willing to accept from the people around me. Like I don't have friends that talk negatively about women. Like if I've got somebody in my life that's like, ooh, look at her ass, knowing that I'm in a relationship, they got to go. Like I can't have you around me because you are trying to poison what I've got in here. And like that kind of thing, making sure that even your social circles are compatible builds those positive relationships. So it works across all relationships, really.
100%. I hear that in your friendships and in your love life. It's the non-negotiables.
Absolutely.
That you pre-establish. And I think that's so important. Everyone should almost like write down what is it that I'm accepting? What is it that I'm not accepting? Because I've heard in the past that people are like, oh, I don't want to feel like I left my friends behind, right? And if you reframe that and say, my friend would never treat me like this, is such a different perspective that will allow you to get to the place that you want to go. Like, I really just hear that non-negotiable like coming through from you.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of like a framework or a practice for writing down these non-negotiables?
So yeah, I actually do. I'm actually written 2 books, and in the first book I have your non-negotiables, your core values. I have a whole chapters on that. But for me, I think that it's important that people know their core values, that you pick them, and your core values are going to shift. Every decade of your life, you are basically becoming a new individual, because who you are in your 20s isn't who you are in your 30s. And that's going to evolve. And as that evolves, or as you evolve, your core values are going to shift. So like your core values are going to set your non-negotiables. So like if you are somebody that believes one of your core values is integrity, you're not going to allow somebody that is poor character to be in your life, because you believe in being whole. And that's what being integrity is. It's being integral. You're whole, and you're honest and forthcoming. So I'm not going to allow shady people in my life, because I don't want them to corrupt my integrity. So one of my non-negotiables is I'm not going to deal with shady people. If somebody comes around me and they're doing something that I even feel is not okay, they've got to go. And like, if I care about these people, I'll have a discussion with them of why I think their behavior is poor, or what they're doing is wrong. And if I can see a change in them, they can stay, because it means they want to grow. But if I see a repetitive pattern of their behavior, they can't be around me. So your non-negotiables are, I think they're boundaries. They are just as important as your core values. Companies 100%. Create core values all the time. It's part of their fucking loading packets when you go in. Our core values are, but we don't ever do it for ourselves, which is really weird to me.
Not yet. Not until people listen to the message that you have to say, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I mean,
to be better tribe.
Yeah, that's it. How good can your life be if you don't know who you are?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That's such a good question, because it's like, I don't think people take the time to ask themselves these types of questions, right? Like when you're in an era or a state that there's so much stimulus coming in and there's very little reflection, it's hard to become the best person, the best version of yourself, or it's hard to become the person that you want to be, because you're being influenced by so many different things. And, whether it's plant medicine, psychedelics, or just like intentional reflecting and journaling, that creates a barrier for you to look introspectively at what's going on and who you want to be.
Yeah. One of the hardest questions you'll ever ask yourself is, who am I? Because when you say, who am I? You can say, well, I'm Chris. Well, that's your name. It's your label. Well, I'm a husband. Well, that's a title. I'm a father. That's something you did. Right. So like that introspection is huge. And that's one of those things that I recommend that people journal and debate on. Like that could be a whole last month of journal prompts. Yeah. It's 100%. Wild.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into your books. I have not done it yet, but it sounds like there's just so much there. So I'm excited to grab some.
Yeah, I can send them to you. We can do a little gift exchange or whatever.
Nice.
You'll have to text me a mailing address for you, since I never know where you're going to be.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry.
Is there anything else you want to get into, man? We've been on for a little over an hour now. I try to keep these interviews about an hour.
No, that's perfect. I feel super complete. Like, you're awesome. I hope we get to hang out sometime.
I'm sure we will. Yeah. So
100%.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
I enjoy conversations like this. This is one of those things that is lacking because we don't have community. We just did a couples retreat in North Carolina. We just got home on Monday night. And those retreats and spending 3 days in a home with 14 other people and like cooking together and having dinner together and sitting outside and meditating together. My wife plays her sound bowls, and like the energy exchange that's there. Leaving is one of the hardest things, dude. And coming back to our normal life where like all we have is our kids and 1 or 2 close friends because we're so selective about what we have. I value people a whole lot differently now. So like having these conversations fills me up, dude. I feel good. Like I'm going to get off this thing and I'm energetic and ready to go. And it's fucking 8:30 at night. You know what I mean? So like, it's very cool that we were able to connect like this. I very much enjoyed it.
100%. I feel the same way. I feel energized, excited. Like I'm going to go just high five my buddy and just be like, let's go. Like I'm just stoked. I talked to Chris and had a great time.
That's funny.
So yeah, I really appreciate this connection that, we get to sit here and talk about things that matter to us and our core values and beliefs, and hopefully it cause some inspiration downhill, like butterfly effect, into a beautiful future where there's a lot of community, tiny homes, and some regenerative farms.
Hell yeah. Just because some people will be listening to this digitally or audibly without links, what is the church website? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can. So it's sacred-plant medicine, or no, sacred-plant-medicine hvud6wa.gamma.site. It's very long. I could talk to someone to make that shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. Shorter websites do better, especially in search engines. So I will definitely post a link. I'm pretty sure that I can post it to Spreaker, which is who hosts our website or our podcast, and maybe it'll be shown that way. But I wanted to have it just in case that didn't work, because better safe than sorry.
Yeah, for sure. So it's sacred-plant-medicine hvud6wa.gamma.site.
Okay, dope. All right, brother. Well, it was fun. I appreciate you hopping on here with me tonight.
Yeah.
And
thanks so much for the conversation. I'm excited to send you a care package, and we'll find some time to connect, hopefully in the fall.
All right. And there will be a discount code for his website in the link when this gets posted.
100%.
Have a good day, guys. All right.